Welcome to a phenomenal edition of Rebellion's educational series. I'm here with James Koutloulas, one of the smartest minds I've come across in crypto, who prior to becoming a hedge fund manager was a lawyer who recovered nearly $7 billion for the MF Global customers back when John Corzine floundered the shop. I think probably would make sense to be the lead trustee for the FTX case, and I think we should start a campaign for that. James, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for the kind intro, bud.
No, I've been a fan of yours for years. I think we met maybe 15 years ago in Chicago. I always thought you had a very apt
11.
mind.
11 with Bart Chilton at the trading show Chicago. Yeah. R.I.P. Bart.
R.I.P. Bart, indeed. So first question, what happened with FTX from your point of view?
I mean, quite frankly, it looks like a DC swamp insider money laundering ring. It seems to have been the primary purpose of FTX. I mean, you've got these massive campaign contributions, right? With SBF being the second biggest donor to Biden. You have connections between Gary Gensler, head of the SEC, who was head of the CFTC during MF Global. So he's got a pattern for being the head of agencies failing to properly regulate multi-billion-dollar frauds that are Democratic donors. But Gensler colleagues with the girlfriend of SBF, who is the head of Alameda, were with billions of dollars in customer segregated funds, apparently moved out a back door, to prop up their trading operation, right? So I mean, this is a pretty nasty, corrupt story, and this is with news just starting to come out.
Do you think there was ever a time when FTX was a totally wholesome company and the books would have made sense at a point?
I never got that vibe. Our crypto fund, we made a hard pass on using them as a counterparty. It's just one of those things, like the bullshit level was so high, right? Like the narcissism, just none of it ever smelled right.
And by the way, congratulations. I saw your crypto fund was flat for this year, which is absolutely amazing considering the seismic drawdown of the crypto markets.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, in hindsight's 2020, option volatility was so high at the beginning of the year, once we recognized the high probability of crypto winner, that we just kind of got out of the way instead of being short through options. It could have been a big year, but I think coupled with the fact we beat Bitcoin to the upside last year, our max drawdown is 1/3 of that of Bitcoin since we launched almost 6 years ago. I think we've done a pretty good job managing both market risk and counterparty risk, avoiding scum like FTX.
Do you think that's why CZ did this? He wanted to just flush FTX out of the ecosystem. He said, Bitcoin price be damned.
I mean, maybe. The impact on Bitcoin price has not been as dramatic as one would think, quite frankly. And I mean, especially you've got that, right? And I mean, especially with these second order effects, like you got BlockFi now. There's been runs on Crypto.com. Crypto.com looks like they're probably going to be okay. They're pretty well funded, apparently. Coinbase looks like it's fine, right? But we shall see. I mean, we pulled all of our money out of all crypto platforms last week. So, we're at our operational bank and in cash and treasury bills.
What about a sound exchange? Like my friend the Winklevi's is Gemini. Would you consider them?
So we're a Gemini customer, and in crypto, you never really know, right? I mean, the state, it's not your keys, it's not your coin. So we use Gemini's custody platform. They're SOC 2 compliant, which means they've got very in-depth and audited internal controls. But right now there's we just generally, we never want to be in a position where like we have to trade. Like there's some amazing crypto trade that we've got to make today and tomorrow. No, like we're going to let the dust settle. See which counterparties survive, and hopefully the next run in this space, you're going to have more legitimate actors, running the show. And I think just generally, that's one of the big problems in crypto, right? Like the SEC has rejected a Bitcoin spot ETF so many times, saying that that's dangerous, right? But all that does is it pushes people into these lightly regulated or unregulated exchanges. And as secure as Bitcoin is, and in crypto in general is at the protocol level, once you start centralizing it on an exchange, you're now subject to bad actors like SBF running that exchange. So you're re-centralizing the decentralized protocol.
Well, what about the Valkyrie ETF? I thought that's an ETF that tracks Bitcoin, and yet that did not
I
take off in
believe it's
popularity.
futures.
Okay.
I think it's futures.
Okay. That's a big difference.
Yeah. So, you know, GBTC, which is run out of Canada, is really like the leading like spot exchange. And, you know, there's some issues with the, you know, kind of cap nature of the trust, right? So you could get premiums or discounts to spot. But
I mean, it's amazing that SBF raised all this money without a CFO, without real compliance.
no board. Yeah, I mean, it's something we talk about all the time at Typhon, right? Where we have proper internal controls, right? We do due diligence on our counterparties. Like, you know, KPMG is our auditor. It's not, I forgot the name of FTXs, but, you know, they're like advertising parties with strippers from an auditor. Like, a little bit of red flag, right? Like, you know, you just got to be careful. I mean, in hubris, that a lot of people tend to get sucked into this, and, you know, analysts at these VC funds that were, you know, writing billion-dollar checks are like, wow, they're so cool, we're going to hit 100x return. And you just see it time and time again with scum like Adam Newman at WeWork. He just raised another fund, right? You know, like Travis at Uber, like the same type of just highly narcissistic personalities, you know, raise money, and people just ignore that there are no controls.
I found venture capital to be the most narcissistic division of finance, and so one would assume that narcissism would enjoy their own.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm suing Sante Ventures in Austin right now. You know, billion-dollar VC fund. A friend of mine raised them 150 million, brought in Pennsylvania Retirement Systems as a client, right? And they don't want to pay her bonus. You know, so they've gone and fabricated this argument claiming they orally modified her contract 10 years ago. Then not one documentation of this, not one email referencing it, not one text message, not one Slack conversation. And they think they're going to get away with it. I think we're probably going to wind up going to trial that on the defense that the contract that they wrote was illegal and that they orally modified it, but never corroborated that, never mentioned it until after my friend has a lawyer up. Like, okay, like let's go to trial, bro.
What was the name of that venture capital firm?
Sante, Sante Ventures in Austin, Texas.
Oh, that's not very fortunate.
It's just par for the course, right? I mean, you just get a lot of hubris in investment management, and people don't, you know, people don't look at, you know, values, right? Like people, you know, like not to self promote, but like I've done a lot of pro bono work with a lot of success, and people would rather invest with a con man like SBF than us. Like, okay.
So in MF Global, I got the sense that Corsian's internal bets on European debt went badly, so he used customer funds to shore up. But prior to that, he had run a clean ship. Whereas you think with SBF, he had a fraudulent ship the entire time and took customer funds when needed.
Yeah, I mean, it really looks like the intent is there when you're like coding backdoors. And, you know, the Alameda relationship was even more egregious than an MF, because the MF, the prop trading's in, at least it's in the same entity. You're allowed to prop trade to some extent as long as you've got, say, firm assets in the residual interest within the customer pool, right? And, you know, obviously he broke the law. He went into these repos at 30-to-1 leverage and, you know, took money out of the customer segregated accounts after falsifying a seg report to give himself plausible deniability to meet his own margin call, right? Bad, criminal, he should be in jail. But SBF funneled this money through a backdoor in a separate entity, and their account agreements all says that they wouldn't do that, right? So, you know, the Bahamas have already said they want to bring criminal charges against him. Where's the U.S.? Okay, we're going to let the Bahamas act like a first world government and pursue criminal charges for someone where, you know, looking like maybe 8 billion in fraud, right? Like, where's the arrest warrant?
No.
From the U.S. And, you know, the big question is, you know, this guy funneled all this money into the Dems. Are they going to give those campaign contributions back? Are they going to call the bankruptcy trustee and say, here's the 50 million that me, Joe Biden, received from FTX, put it in the estate and go back to customers? No, I mean, if MF Global is any precedent, the FBI didn't even interview Corzine for over a year after the bankruptcy.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Corzine was on tape lines saying to move the money from the customer SEG account to the MF Global House account to meet the margin call.
I know I told you Rebellion Research was actually in negotiations to sell a very small minority stake in our firm to MF Global when they folded, actually. So our negotiations ended just like that. That's like we are as surprised as anyone. We had been meeting with the governor senator for months, and then all of a sudden there was no more MF Global. So at this point, do you have any sense as to what percent clients will get back from their FTX accounts?
I mean, quick look at the balance sheet. It suggests maybe like 10%. Now,
you think 10 cents on the dollar?
Maybe, right? So here's the thing, right? So even though in FTX, the account agreements say that the customer accounts are supposed to be segregated and not used for prop trading, there is no legal segregation for crypto like there is with futures, right? So like 4D designated Commodity Exchange Act funds have to be segregated. 1 second here. Hold on, fishing. So someone in our team is getting like a phishing request. 1 sec. I'm gonna tell them that is not me. Okay. But there is no statutory segregation like in futures in crypto, right? So we'll see. Like if customer counsel is going to likely have to argue, look, these contractual segregation, people were promised segregation. A secured creditor should have been aware of this. They should take priority, just like futures. But you're going to have secured creditors are going to come in and they're going to argue, no, we have a perfected security interest. We have priority to customers. Like that's going to be the big fight. And unless they could claw back a lot of assets, you're looking at a $7-8 billion hole already, right? So it's going to be ugly. And if you look at foreign currency, if you look at Refco, which was the predecessor to MF Global,
of course, I knew Tom did very well.
Yeah, so I mean, the foreign currency people took huge haircuts, whereas the futures were left intact.
Well, Refco was using an offshore account to hide losses, and they move money around to falsify their earnings. So I guess
sound familiar? Not to laugh. I mean,
it does sound highly familiar. Yes, no. I remember in 2003, Tom Dibber told me that Refco was on the verge of bankruptcy, and they brought in this great speaking British CFO who created all these fantastic dots for the banks, and went out and raised $1 billion for them. I guess you can make dots look very pretty with some nice PowerPoint.
Right.
Yeah, I know that he served jail time. The Refco guy, but do you think SBF will serve jail time in the United States, or do you think it'll just be a Caribbean situation?
I mean, right now we're looking like a banana republic, right? I mean, that there's not a warrant out already is a disgrace to America and the rule of law. Yeah. I mean, there was no warrant for Corzine, right? I mean, again, it's and people got to ask, and they got to keep asking, just like we need to keep asking for the Epstein client list until we see that. We got to say, where's the warrant for this? Why have all these politicians kept this dirty money that was essentially stolen from customers? You're going to campaign on stolen money, and people got to hold them accountable for that. I mean, that's one of the great things about this day and age is that between social media, boycotts. I mean, of course, this came right after the midterm elections. So
the 2 years. The 40 million of midterm donations was all stolen money. Yes.
I think wasn't it 50 million just to Biden?
I don't even. I thought I might have read 40 million. So you probably more stuff. I tried to
maybe. I mean, I got to tell you, I've had so many calls and it feels like MF Global all over again, where it's like the amount of calls, text. I have like a monitor that's just chats, and it just doesn't stop scrolling. It's like my chat, my text, WhatsApp, Signal, whatever. It's like a Twitter feed. There's so many people asking for help now, and it's, you know, I'm gonna do what I can. But I mean, this is an ugly case.
Well, I hope we can work with you. Rebellion's now a Google verified news source, and if you want to, partner with us and start investigating this FTX thing more and bringing light to where there should be, I'd love to help you, James.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I got nothing but love and respect for you, as you know, for your years and years, relationship. So, anything you could do to help, get money back to customers is greatly appreciated.
Awesome. Well, this was a great show, James. Enjoy Miami. I'm gonna get back to the cold of New York. Feel jealous.
Well, I'll be seeing you in Boston in December.
Wonderful. I look forward
Not
to that
a
as
lot
well.
of people I'm going to go to a cold weather city for in December. Just
No,
FYI.
I appreciate that. It's going to be an amazing conference. We have 400 attendees for the MIT Quant conference. It's going to be really awesome, and we're going to add a FTX panel, which you're going to really make a big dent on.
Are we going to get Gensler and Mr. Ellison on the panel since it's an MIT?
I think there's a better chance of bringing Machiavelli back from the dead. So, but
oh God,
anyway,
what a world we live in, bro.
Indeed, James. Pleasure. Stay safe. Be well.